of gaming experiences.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Carlos. Welcome to everybody for this talk. And today I'm presenting Satoshi's Games, what it is. And for anyone who wants to follow me, well, my name is Carlos Roldan. I am Whitey Hat at Twitter, and that's my email. So I'm going to introduce first what we are and what we've been doing. In case anyone doesn't know what we are, you can check it out at satoshis.games or just simply scan this QR code. So Satoshi's Games basically is a gaming platform that works on top of Lightning. And that's basically it. It's a website where you can play Lightning games. So I want to introduce that now we're releasing Satoshi's Games version 2.0, which is an improvement which contains more game faucets, but we call it like challenges. So we did a collaboration with a Bitcoin artist called Bitco, and we created a super fun game called Bitman, which is now up. You can try it out, and it's pretty cool. So you can, it's like it's like Pac-Man, but we call it Bitman. You basically can stack Satoshis by playing this game. And this new release has a UI, which is new. It contains more pixels, has a more cypherpunk puzzles, more Bitcoin in the games. So it's pretty more complete than what it is. I'm going to skip the other slides so I can show you the following. So now it comes the interesting. This is what we have been building during the last 2 months and a half. And we are going to release this. So this is the first announcement. I was going to do 2 announcements today, and this is the first one. So this is actually the pretty big thing we want to do now. I'm going to show now what's the video of this, but before doing so, I want to show you that this is an organic evolution of Satoshi's Games. So we need to do a product which can fulfill the same needs, but at the same time is scalable. So we created Elixir. If you want to follow the Twitter, it's Elixir Lab or elixir.app. Now, let's watch the trailer. Thank you. So let me introduce a little bit more in detail what is Elixir. So it's a Bitcoin gaming platform is not exclusively for Bitcoiners. This is important to stand out. It's a gaming platform for gamers, especially indie gamers. And Bitcoin is an incentive. It's a strategy. It's a way of experimenting with technology. And at the end, this is a powerful tool to onboard games and gamers into Bitcoin. So basically, you can buy indie games using Bitcoin, and you can support indie game developers by doing so, because indie game developers are this kind of developers where they have no more, it's a very risk situation to be an indie developer, because you have no much fun, and you are risking all your time and resources to fund your game, and then at the end of the development, you then go out publicly and you sell it. And if it doesn't work, you invested the time for nothing. We want to shortcut this time by providing early deliveries, like tools and platforms that can allow early delivery of games, and therefore you can support this delivery. And using this with Bitcoin, and well, much more. You can check it out the website. It's called Elixir App, and it includes much more in detail what it is. We've drafted a Bitcoin and Lightning SDK for game developers exclusively to satisfy these needs, including payments, authentication, and it covers a modular interoperability, so it can be custodial and non-custodial. We call it API TOSI. So that's pretty cool, all right? So a gaming platform is not going to work if there are no very cool games, a showcase of games that integrate this technology. And we saw this in Satoshis.games. So a platform itself cannot succeed if there are no so cool games to have. So I'm going to go now and introduce Lightnight. This is a side project. We've been working in parallel with this, with a different team that doesn't enter in collision with Elixir. And this is a game which we are betting for this as a powerful tool to contribute to Bitcoin mainstream adoption. So this is the trailer. So let me talk quickly about what it is, and then if you have any other questions, because I think we're running out of time, let's cover them more in detail later. So it's a game where you can earn Bitcoin while playing a real game, and you can earn Bitcoin while playing this kind of game if you play the actual Bitcoin mode. It's interesting because this game is not developed for Bitcoiners, again. It's for everyone, which means you can still play without Bitcoin. Bitcoin is only the reward, the incentive to actually have revenue, micro revenue, while playing a game. So it's basically a battle royale game. We all know how battle royales are. I'm not going to stand out the most important one, but it's one where you can actually earn Bitcoin by doing so. It comes with a season pass. It has in-game purchases using Lightning, and we are focusing on a design which is minimalistic, low poly, like kind of cartoony style. So, yeah. And last but not least, you can pre-order now. The way we want to do this pre-order is following a crowdfunding campaign, which gives you access, well, early access, if you actually buy the game. If you don't, it's fine. You just can wait for the release, which may take a little bit longer. But if you don't want to wait and you wanted to try the early access, you can pay it now. You can pre-order it. And we have stickers. We have t-shirts. We also have posters. And you can get involved in a more development state if you check it out, lightnight.io. And we have physically here the actual stickers, which are 100. You can buy them there, and the t-shirts. So if you want to support the project, that's the way to go.
Awesome. We got 2 minutes for questions. That was actually super cool. Yeah.
Hi. So concerning the SDK for game developers, what kind of fees do you take?
Of fees?
Fees.
Yeah.
Like with Steam, you have like, I don't know, 30% or something from the revenue. So do you do the same, or how do you?
No. For game development, at the moment, we don't have to charge anything for the first 1,000 games that are in the platform. So those early first games, they will be like freedom for the trade-off operations. So no kind of percentage revenue. I mean, we don't want to create any revenue during the short term. We want to onboard the users. We will have the bases of the games.
How can bring on board all my friends who know nothing about Bitcoin but a lot of video games, about video games?
So it's simple. I mean, for this game, in this case, that's the actual goal. Onboard friends, people that they know how to play games, but they don't know about Bitcoin, and they don't have to if they don't want to. But if you give them an incentive to want to know about Bitcoin because they can have value easily from a game, that's the actual reason. So you just can share the game and tell them to play without Bitcoin, and then playing with Bitcoin, and they barely notice the difference. So that's kind of the how-to.
Any more questions? All right, let's give a round of applause. That was so good. That was awesome. Awesome. Is Christian Moss in the house? You can if you want to. Or this one works really well.
Yeah, I've got like a remote on this, so
There you
it has sound, right?
go. No, you just have to hold it up to your speaker.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. So guys, please put your hands together for Christian Moss. He's going to be talking about building open digital economies in gaming.
Okay, that's weird.
There we go.
Hello. Okay, hi. My name's Christian. Some people might know me on Twitter as a Mandelduck, but I'm going to be talking about open digital economies in gaming, and also just gaming and value and money in gaming in general. So just the title here is A Brief History of Value in Gaming. So I think one way to look at games is games have been allowing transfer of value in a peer-to-peer fashion like since ancient Babylonian times. So the original games were all about people getting together and just like sharing a bit of cash, a bit of gold, a bit of money, and that was kind of what the original games were. So I think chess, and this was a very ancient, I think it's the first game historians have found, and Jumanji, I think, is an old game, right? I'm not sure. But the idea is that people got around and they would, peer-to-peer, they would trade gold coins. And just a interesting case story. I used to live in Japan, and the history of gaming in Japan is quite interesting. In 1549, the missionary Francis Xavier, he arrived in Japan. And at the time, gaming what didn't really exist so much in Japan. It was a very kind of strict society. But he brought along the first playing cards to Japan. So he introduced card games to the Japanese population. And card games quickly became a kind of staple of kind of mainly gambling, but also just small value transfer among people. So eventually in like 1711, I think, the shogun just basically just banned it all because people were just gambling and trading too much. And it kind of put a halt on that. But people found ways around it. So loopholes were quickly found when what people started to make, they started to make these decorative cards that they didn't appear to look like normal playing cards, they just looked like pieces of art, but these were used to kind of circumvent the gambling laws. And okay, so again. Yeah, so these cards are very popular in Japan. And actually, one of the largest gaming companies in the world actually started out producing these cards. Does anybody know who made these cards? Or Nintendo, exactly. Yeah, so Nintendo, they actually started making these. This was their first entry into gaming. So this is kind of the first Game Boy. You can kind of think of it as. But it's still a popular game played today. So then Nintendo started to do that, and they eventually moved into the digital world of gaming. So they started to make digital games. It seemed like a natural movement to continue the idea of players using money and collecting money. But at the time, with a digital game, you couldn't really do money, right? Games were physical, money was physical, and there was no way to add payments into games. So they just kind of kept these like Mario coins as just a symbol, but they didn't really have much value. Eventually, like the concept of using like useless coins in games that didn't have any value lost its appeal. So games started to move away from it and started to focus more on story and gameplay, which isn't a bad thing. But they kind of, the whole concept of players transferring value was kind of lost. And then, the internet came. Internet, smartphones, and a few gaming companies thought, hang on a minute, can we put value and payments back into gaming? And kind of, sort of, like this is the best they could really do with the technology, We didn't really have peer-to-peer streaming or micropayments, so the best they could do was these walled gardens in-app purchases where the smallest amount you could do is $1 or maybe $2, and they would take a 30% fee, like ads and loot boxes. So it wasn't really peer-to-peer, and it kind of sucks, to be honest. Advertisement, loot boxes, in-app purchases. Can we do better this time? Yeah. So I like to think now with the advent of Bitcoin, Lightning, and Z, which I'll reveal in a second, we can actually... Oh. Okay, try again. Yeah, we can actually bring micropayments and peer-to-peer value transfer back into gaming. So I'd like to announce today we're starting a project called Zebedee. And Zebedee empowers Bitcoin-enabled digital economy engines. Who is Zebedee? Zebedee is myself, Mandelduck. And I made games with Bitcoin since 2014. Andre Nevis, who's a former co-founder of Koala Studios, and Simon Cowell, who's in the audience here. And what is Zebedee building? So we're building LDKs, as we like to call them, and APIs, so Lightning Development Kits for integration into Unity, which is the most popular game engine for indie developers, Godot, which is an open source game engine, which is gaining traction, Unreal, and Node.js for web. We're building a mobile wallet, which is going to be focused on kind of optimizing for gaming. So it's going to be a Lightning wallet, but it's going to have some gaming-specific functionality, such as streaming payments between players. And we're also going to be showcasing and making actual games. So what will all that do? Well, magic, pretty much. That's what we hope it'll do. But seriously, what will it do? So we want to abstract the complexities of Lightning to allow game developers just to focus on building games. Most game developers want to build great games. They don't want to necessarily have to deal with setting up a node, sorting out liquidity, channels, all these sorts of things. So our APIs and SDKs will abstract this for them. And we want to pioneer the next era of gaming, so we're working closely with Carlos from Satoshi Games, a previous presentation, and Konstantin from Donna, the next presentation. Us lot together, we really hope to try and kind of be on the vanguard of the next kind of gaming revolution. So what does all that mean? It's a bit abstract. So I'd like to show a quick trailer of one of our flagship games that we're working on. So... There we are. You can see this game is actually streaming Satoshis between players as they hit each other. And this is one of the Hong Kong protest scene we're working on. See the top right there. Okay. Yeah, so the game is called Raijin or Reiki. We're not too sure on the name yet because people keep saying Reiki when it's Reiki, but it basically means lightning demon. And it's going to be for mobile and desktop, and people can link their wallets, the lightning wallets, and as they basically fight each other, they're just streaming Satoshis. And we've got some cool features. For example, in the game, your Satoshis could be like your health points. So as you are losing health points, you're giving Satoshis to the other player. Once you run out Satoshis, you die. But maybe an audience member could send you some Satoshis and like boost your health, things like that. So we actually have a demo of this in the kind of hack area if you want to come out later and try. And I'll show information in a little bit, but there's also a kind of a demo for iOS and Android you can download now and play against the computer and earn a little bit of Satoshis. So that's one of the games we're working on. And So the game is going to have characters based on like kind of people in the crypto space. So these are just some mock-ups, not final characters, but we've got Blockstream Spy, Roger Cash, don't know who that's based on. Unicorn, don't know who that's based on. Jack the Rippler is one of my favorites. We've also got a character that we were talking about yesterday called Nakamoto Dundee. You see who that guy is? Yeah. And this was one of the levels that was in the trailer, which is, it's basically based on the Hong Kong protests. So you can play as a protester and fight against a riot guard, a policeman. Or if you're politically inclined the other way, you can actually play as a riot police and, you know, squash the terrorist revolt, whichever way you see it. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you. So with Zebedee, you can try the prototype at the gaming area. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, where we have some mobile demos that you can download and try as well. And yeah, thank you.
All right, we have a couple of minutes for questions.
All good?
All good. I guess that was a really good presentation then. You
Good.
explained it very clearly.
Maybe got one.
All right. Make up your mind by the time I get here.
How do you plan to keep everyone able to play because of channels? How do you plan to do that in your APIs?
Yeah, so actually, it depends on the game, right? So we're focusing on the APIs and SDKs for other developers, so depends on their gameplay. In that specific game, so that's just one, the whole two-player mode is one aspect of the game. So that could be, it could be like, say, it's a pre-arranged tournament where they might sort that out. In the mobile version, we have a feature which will actually test the streaming. Another plan is we plan to use HODL invoices. So a HODL invoice is a type of invoice from the Lightning Lab, which basically lets you kind of make a bunch of payments beforehand. So each payment could have like 8 hops, but you can generate like, I don't know, 1,000 of these invoices. And they're all pre-routed, if that makes sense. And then as you're playing, you kind of release the invoice. So that's one way around it. Yeah.
Cool. Any more questions? All right, let's give a round of applause. That was really good. All right, up next we have Konstantin Nick. There he is. Victor, nice to meet you. Nice to get you hooked up. You have a USB-C? Yes. Perfect. All right, and Konstantin is going to be speaking about approaching the chicken and egg problem using new gameplay mechanics. Let's give him a round of applause.
Hi everyone. So I have the great honor to have the third Lightning gaming platform in a row to present to you with probably the least fancy slides, but I'm going to try my best. So my name is Konstantin. I work at DonnerLab, and in this talk I want to show you the gaming platform we're building, the game we're building, and how we're using that game to solve a common chicken and egg problem that platforms often have. So DonnerLab is a Bitcoin-only startup where we create Lightning games and developer tools. So for clarification, I have heard it a lot now, Donner is not related to a common type of kebab. It means thunder in German. So we have been building Lightning games and developer tools for about 1.5 years now. We started at the first Lightning Hack Day. And all started with a Lightning payment plugin for the Unity game engine. We used it for some simple prototypes, but also we did other stuff like, for example, this Minecraft app, which allowed users to pay the server as well as trading items between users. So after trying out some game prototypes, we are sure that the potential of Lightning for games is amazing, and we started working on a platform so that game developers that have no experience in Lightning or Bitcoin and don't want to think about maybe channel management and stuff, that they could easily build games how they would imagine that they could build them. So to achieve that, we focus on some main aspects. So first of all, our transactions, they are like the basis of the platform. Our API allows developers to easily include Lightning and also Bitcoin payments into their games. We allow for fully peer-to-peer payments, but also custodial payments, so that users have an easier onboarding. You can just, as a developer, create a game, and the user does not need like a Lightning node running. The other big part are digital assets. So digital assets such as skins or items, they allow game developers to basically give their game a lasting value. So if you look at games like Counter-Strike, you have skins that sell in the thousands of dollars. So we want to make it possible for game developers to add assets into their games and sell them or let users obtain them in any other way. So for gamers, it means that they can trade those assets in maybe a real-time marketplace. And this allows them not only to earn Satoshis in games or money in games, but also cash out after they've played a game, which is a big problem today, I think. So for delivery, we use a gRPC API to allow for real-time communication. So this makes it possible to integrate our platform in any PC game, console game, mobile, and also web. And what we already have is a Unity SDK. So the platform should be easy to use, of course. So we also include onboarding tools like vouchers, which you can give out to gamers so that they can add free Satoshi to their account. We will allow social logins, but also Lightning-centric logins. Yeah, safe and secure. So when we have high-value assets, we need to be sure that it is safe and secure. We try to use modern standards like OAuth, and also we use a domain-like system for accessing user assets and also funds. So platforms are super attractive for developers. They can piggyback on existing users, use easy SDK tools, and also they have a big central place for marketing, basically. Users also have a really big benefit of having a central place where they will have assets and where they can look for new games. So this is where our chicken and egg problem comes. So as we target users and also developers who will use the platform when there are no games on it and who will build games when there are no users, basically. But also another chicken and egg problem we see is that we as Lightning users want gamers to be in Lightning, but they don't have Lightning games now. So first, some game design restrictions we try to give ourselves, because gamers will only use Lightning games if they are better than normal games, basically. And we can do this if we improve on existing game design. For example, bidirectional payments, because traditional games most often use unidirectional payments from the player to the developer. But what we can do is have bidirectional payments between users, developer to user, user to developer, anything. Another point is skill versus chance. This is pretty hard because, of course, it's a dream to build a game that is purely based on skill. You get paid out for your skill. However, if you pay out for this, you have incentives to bot and to cheat. So I think it's beyond most indie devs' capability to build robust and competitive online games that are based on skill. Also, what is fun are dynamic prices. So what we currently know in gaming are fixed prices for skins and such, but what we want to do is have more dynamic prices. For example, what we do are auctions, which are scalable, so the more users you have, the higher the prices will get, and they are also more interesting in a gameplay-related way. So then game theory, it may sound silly, but when you design a game for Lightning payments, you really need to apply game theory to your ideas and also to your payout schemes, because everybody will try to exploit it. And the last part is break it, of course. You need to get into your game, try to break it so that your funds and your user funds are safe. So our solution was to create that kind of game, and we call it Donner Dungeon. So a short gist of it, Donner Dungeon, it is a player versus player online strategy game where players select and upgrade units from a limited pool. Players send these units in a battle arena where they are then controlled by an AI. And it is round-based. Each round there's an auction which decides who gets to play next against the current champion, which is the winner of the last rounds. The auction works, the higher you bid, the higher your chances to play, though it also means that small amounts that you pay can also allow you to play in the next round. And we reward round winners. Basically, we have one round pot and one game pot, and the champion gets the round pot, and the game pot in the end is pretty big, and the winner of the last rounds get it. We have social presence in our game, so you have this arena and you see every user who's currently playing as a person, and they can have a skin, they can also chat to everyone, and the game runs 24/7 on a YouTube live stream, and you play with a mobile app or with a WebGL app. Yeah. So yeah, these are our Lightning conference skins. So we have Jimmy Songhead Whale, we have of course the Hodlonaut, and we have the low time preference Koala. So here's our trailer. Where's my mouse? I don't think we need sound. It's also just stock sounds. Yeah, but it's just stock image. Stock. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, so as you can see, these are the units that are fighting against each other. In the stages, you can see the different players, how they're. I should maybe talk in here. The different players, how their skins they choose, and this is the app that is running on your phone. So this is the old skin selection. And this is how you chat. And then you can see, so every player is in the game. And this is where you can see the different investments. So this is a Lightning native payment now where it just changes to the Eclair wallet. And the fighting is done by the AI so that you cannot exploit it. And this is how the game payout looks like. So for our roadmap, you can try Donner Dungeon here. I will demo it later. And tomorrow I will probably demo it the whole day. The release of the game could or should be next week. We try our best to have it live by next week. And the platform will be ready for other developers in the next 3 months probably. And we're also focusing on more Lightning native features to have like a really cool assets system basically. So, and we hope to have more to announce during this year. So thank you.
I actually have a question.
Huh?
I do have a
Oh,
question.
please.
Can you please elaborate more on the AI part of your product?
Yeah, so the AI part is basically every different unit in the game has a different AI. So it works in a way you would select your troops, what you think is a strong group, and they would fight against each other. Just it's a simple, or we trying to make the AI fun and more smart so that it will stay well balanced, basically.
Which I don't know, what exactly do you use from AI part?
Just simple state machines. No fancy schmancy neural networks or such.
Any other questions?
Right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, next up we have a panel between Lightning Koala, Carlos Roldan, Christian Moss, Konstantin Nick, and Desiree Dickerson. So it's going to be starting in just a couple of minutes. If you guys want to step out, get a coffee, come back, that's great. And if not, just keep on hanging out. I'll leave chairs. I see you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give you one.
Thank you.
All right, can we get Lightning Koala, Carlos Roldan, Christian Moss, Konstantin Nick to please come up here and join Desiree? All right. And they're going to be talking about the future of Lightning gaming discussion. Desiree, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys for all being here. This is pretty cool. We have quite a superstar cast. Having all the Lightning game people all in one place is like pretty unique. So yay, Lightning Conference. Well, thank you guys so much for your demos. They were really fascinating. Chris, I know some of us saw yours on Thursday, so I've been like thinking a lot about it, and I hope like I can check out your demo here, or yeah, demo it out a little bit. Anyway, so I do want to kick it off, and since Lightning Koala, you did not do a demo, I do want to give you the first question. So you did build like really the first killer lap, or like that first killer game, and I remember actually the last time I was in Berlin, we played it at, we did Satoshi's Place at the Lightning Hack Day. So I just want to see, like, what were your key takeaways from building that, and, you know, kind of what were the biggest challenges that you faced when pulling that together?
Thank you. So I think the main takeaways were that at the time, it was possible to run a Lightning node in a single board computer, namely a Odroid, and you could actually have like a significant, you know, number of users using your application, and you could just like be self-sovereign. All the payments were like direct to myself. There's like no intermediaries, and that was a pretty cool feeling. I think the other thing was like the development community in Lightning is very inspiring and very responsive. So whenever there are any issues, which there were a couple, the developers involved in LND, C Lightning, Eclair, they were all like very quick to help out and figure out issues. The other takeaway was probably like the level of interaction that was happening with the community. Like, I think a lot of us are used to interact on Twitter, but on Satoshi's Place, it was kind of like another way for people to interact with each other in a different, like, creative way. Yeah, those are like.
Yeah, and before we move on, I do want to touch on, you know, what is your latest project? I want to hear a little bit more about it. I'm sure the crowd is curious.
Yeah, so right now I'm working with Alto Financial, and we're building a Bitcoin-only US brokerage with full support for Lightning. We're just soft launching with friends and family right now, but we're getting really close, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to do a public launch. If you want to talk about it, just come and reach out and after the talk, the panel.
Awesome, yeah. Not as fun as gaming, but very important nonetheless. So awesome. So you touched on kind of the social aspect of gaming, and with the rise of these like massive multiplayer online RPG games like Fortnite, there's a huge social aspect to that. So, and this is a question to anyone on the panel. How do you foresee Lightning payments contributing or impacting that social elements or like the social network in gaming?
In my opinion, I think Lightning has a potential impact to create an incentive where you can invest in your skills as a player. So let's say that you can prove that you have enough skills where you can solve that puzzle in time, and you're willing to do so, and then you can bet with Lightning, or you can have Lightning as an incentive to do so. So it amplifies your gaming experience by adding this reward element.
Yeah, I think one exciting thing about Lightning is that you can break down the barrier between the audience and the players. So a lot of like competitive gaming, esports is very popular right now. And usually you get the audience, they feel part of the team or they admire a player. And maybe with Lightning, they could watch a player, and if a player is having trouble, they could stream some Satoshis, which could be like their health or something. Or maybe they could like pay Satoshis to hurt the other player. So I think that can really break down that barrier. So I think that's one thing that I know we're all working on, but definitely an exciting thing.
Yeah, no, awesome. And I mean, what do you think about, I know you touched on that, this community, the Lightning community and the broader Bitcoin community is, such a lively social atmosphere. Like, do you think, what's the chicken and egg really here? Like, do you see that Lightning games picking up a lot of traction because this community is really excited about it? Or do you think that like there will be a game where Lightning is just like the way that the game works and a broader audience will kind of onboard?
So I would say that for gamers to come to our community, the new games need to be pretty cool. So I think what Carlos is doing with Light Night, this could totally add traditional gamers to our ecosystem if they can earn Bitcoin, because who doesn't find Bitcoin interesting in it as an asset? So I think if we can capitalize on that, that would be pretty cool.
I think it's always going to be a challenge onboarding people, like especially gamers. I remember I was actually demoing Lightning at Tokyo Game Show a couple of years back, which is one of like the largest game shows in the world, and a lot of gamers just saw Bitcoin and they hated me because at the time they blamed us for making graphics cards expensive. So it was, to be honest, it was quite difficult. But I do think that using gaming, it can break down some of the negative assumptions of Bitcoin. So most people think, a lot of noobs, no-coiners, think of Bitcoin as, just like gambling money or trading or some weird internet money or, even worse, like malicious money, for example. But just like if you can play a simple, fun game and earn some Satoshis, it just makes it feel a lot more harmless and lets people understand, wait a minute, this is different to what I thought it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna add something. It's important to stand out that for onboarding gamers into Bitcoin, the actual game doesn't have to be exclusively adopted for the Bitcoin needs. The Bitcoin should be an additional reward that creates an entire experience within the game. In the case of having, for example, on Light Night, you can have the game and you don't have to know anything about Bitcoin. You don't even have to know that Bitcoin is in the game at all. You can play it and that's completely fine. But you can have the opportunity to have micro incentives by switching to game modes where this technology takes impact in the gaming experience.
Maybe I could just add something else. So I tend to look a lot towards the younger generation, and I think for them, Bitcoin is going to be like a normal thing. And also, one of the key advantages of using Bitcoin and Lightning in gaming is the permissionlessness of it. And so I think we're going to see like a lot of younger people like take this up because they can, and nobody's going to tell them that they can't, right? And yeah, that's.
One of my first, I made a Bitcoin game back in 2014 that would basically, they'd play the game and it's like an app and it would like just tip them Bitcoin. And I got so many emails from parents saying, oh, thank you, you've got my son into Bitcoin. And a lot of my players were just kids who, for the first time, they could actually earn pocket money without asking their parents, you know. So definitely, I think gaming is going to be a great way, and kids get it. You know, obviously, probably banking and credit cards are going to be more difficult to explain to a kid because they're kind of more familiar with the idea of like digital payments in games anyway. It's just not open and permissionless. It's just, you know, it's like Mario coins or something. Well, I don't know. What do kids play nowadays? I don't know. Yeah, something like that. So definitely, I think, you know, children are the future. Is that maybe?
No, that's interesting. I definitely did not, when you said parents like reached out to you after playing that game, I did not expect that response. That's shocking.
I think so many, like, you know, you get like, you know, like libertarian dads who are 30 and really want their sons to be into Bitcoin, but, you know, how can we get them into it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, starting the revolution. That's interesting. Yeah, so it seems like it's kind of almost backwards. Like these games can help start onboarding people to Bitcoin rather than the other way around. And you mentioned some challenges with onboarding with games, but are there any unique challenges that any of you are seeing with any of kind of like the whole gaming life cycle, whether that be onboarding, like regulatory, like dealing with the App Store, I know you mentioned the other night, or just like different types of feedback you're getting from customers? Like, what are like the biggest challenges that you're seeing during that life cycle?
I go ahead. I think if we look at Lightning features, like you cannot explain to a person who's not deep into the Lightning ecosystem what inbound capacity is, what a channel is maybe. So this is what we need to work on. So you could, for example, have a game tutorial and in this time open a channel towards the person, maybe with some of the price that he purchased the game on as a initial push amount to that channel. But also UX in payments is also pretty hard, I think, is what we are having problems with, to have a good UX in payments for receiving payments. Where do I put those satoshis? So yeah.
Yeah, so I think one of them is monetization, like figuring out the fact that when you're dealing with micropayments, you need to get volume, and that brings other challenges, like engineering challenges and other costs. So that's one thing. The traditional like gaming approach for monetization is usually like higher margin things like skins or upgrades. So it's worth considering those things when developing a Lightning game, because it's cool that we have the ability to do micropayments, but is that actually going to make your business sustainable? I think one of the other things is probably funding. It's really great to see like these announcements today that we're starting to get some interest in this gaming for Lightning, but I hope to see more funding towards these initiatives.
One of the challenges I found was just like dealing with Apple. So yeah, it's I've had a few Bitcoin games on the App Store, and it's always